درود پڑھیں انشاءاللہ. اللهم صل على محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا دائم الفضل على البرية، يا باسط اليدين بالعطية، يا صاحب المواهب السنية، صل على محمد وآله خير الورى سجية، واغفر لنا يا ذا العلا في هذه العشية. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: وعليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب عليهما السلام، فقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معكم أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء فقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حربا لمن حاربهم وسلما لمن سالمهم وعدوا لمن آذاهم ومحب لمن أحبهم، وأنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، واذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري، إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا رب، ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب، أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل فقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري، إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذنني يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال علي عليه السلام لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع منشيتنا ومحبينا فيهم ومحبين إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذن والله فزنا فازشيتنا ورب الكعبة. وقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيتنا محبين، فيه مهموم إلا فرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام الله السلام إذن والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيئتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك بحق محمد وأنت المحمود، وبحق علي وأنت الأعلى، وبحق فاطمة وأنت فاطر السماوات والأرض، وبحق الحسن وأنت المحسن، وبحق الحسين وأنت قديم الإحسان، وبحق الأئمة التسعة الطاهرين من ذرية الحسين عليهم السلام. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات، طاب بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم طاب هذا طاب حديثك سائر الأرواح الأنبياء والمرسلين والشهداء والصديقين جميع عباد الله الصالحين، سيما الروح المقدس صاحب الزرس والزمان أجل الله فرجه الشريف. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، عجل لوليك الفرج، عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم صل على
صلوات. शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार, शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार, शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार, शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार। पाँव में बेरी तो के गराबार, शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार, शाम का बाजार आबिद बीमार। भूलेगा न वो मंजर نیزے پہ سرے سرور بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سرے سرور بے مکنا بے چادر بلوے مپوپی مادر اور مجمع کفار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار بازار کی زیبائی قحطوں پہ تماشائی بازار کی زیبائی قحطوں پہ تماشائی ادا کی صفاراہی اور عالمی تنہائی وہ بے کسلا چار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار دربار میں سر اریاں آتے ہیں حرم گریاں دربار میں سر اریاں آتے ہیں حرم گریاں اتنے لگائیں کہ طوفان میں شرک ساہے سامان جنبش میں ہے دربار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار صلوات
محمد وآل محمد صلوات بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم زندگی کا بھروسہ نہیں ذکر حیدر کیا کیجئے زندگی کا بھروسہ نہیں ذکر حیدر کیا کیجئے آخرت بھی سنور جائے گی یہ فریضے ادا کیجئے لاکھ سجدے کیے جائیے پھر بھی بخشش نہ ہو پائے گی لاکھ سجدے کیے جائیے پھر بھی بخشش نہ ہو پائے گی یہ محمد کا فرمان ہے ان کے گھر سے وفا کیجئے یہ محمد کا فرمان ہے ان کے گھر سے وفا کیجئے در پہ آ کے یہ شبیر کے ایک راہب نے کی التجا در پہ آ کے یہ شبیر کے ایک راہب نے کی التجا میں سوالی ہوں شاہ زمن مجھ کو بیٹے عطا کیجئے دو فریقین میں ایک ہی حق پہ ہوتا ہے اے دوستو دو فریقین میں ایک ہی حق پہ ہوتا ہے اے دوستو کون جنگ جمل میں مگر حق پہ تھا فیصلہ کیجئے بغض حیدر ہے بغض نبی یہ نجاست ہے سب سے بڑی بغض حیدر ہے بغض نبی یہ نجاست ہے سب سے بڑی جو علی سے عداوت رکھے دور ان سے رہا کیجئے یا علی آپ مختار ہیں انبیاء کے مددگار ہیں یا علی آپ مختار ہیں انبیاء کے مددگار ہیں جتنے مومن ہے خدا کشا ان کی حاجت روا کیجئے زندگی کا بھروسہ نہیں ذکر حیدر کیا کیجئے آخرت بھی سنور جائے گی یہ فریضے ادا کیجئے نعرہ حیدری
تاجدار ماما وسیع نبی علی ہے علی بعد ختم رسول لائق سروری علی ہے علی بات یہ تو بہت ہی ہے آسان سی کیا کرے مصطفیٰ اگر نہ سمجھے کوئی صاف الفاظ میں کہہ رہے ہیں نبی میں ہوں جس کا میرے بعد اس کا ولی علی ہے علی گونجتی تھی صدا رن میں جب امر کی آئی مد مقابل میرے ہے کوئی دیکھ کر سور ماؤں کا چہرہ نبی سوچ میں تھے کہ حیدر نے آواز دی علی ہے علی یوں تو لے کر گئے رن کو لشکر سبھی جنگ خیبر مگر فتح ہو نہ سکی اب چلا ہے علم لے کے ایسا جری خاک ہو جائے گی مرحبی انتری علی ہے علی بستر مصطفیٰ پر دل مصطفیٰ رات بھر چین کی نیند سوتا رہا طولائے اہل شر خوف سے چیخ اٹھا صبح اٹھ کر جو حیدر نے انگرائے لی علی ہے علی حکم معبود سے توڑنے بت کدا جب چلے سوئے کعبہ حبیب خدا آگے پیچھے سبھی تے مگر یہ بتا دوش احمد پہ معراج کس کو ملی علی ہے علی علی ہے علی نعرے حیدری
محمد وعلى محمد
اور محمد وعلى محمد نعرہ صلوات باری دیگر بآواز بلند نعرہ صلوات صلی علی محمد وعلى
حسین سے خالی نہ جائے گی بات ان کی تو خدا سے بھی ٹالی نہ جائے گی بات ان کی تو خدا سے بھی ٹالی نہ جائے گی تو مجلس حسین میں آنسو بہا کے دیکھ تو مجلس حسین میں آنسو بہا کے دیکھ اتنی خوشی ملے گی سنبھالی نہ جائے گی مانگو دعا حسین سے
نعرہ صلوات ایک بار اور نعرہ صلوات صلی علی محمد و آل محمد جو مراتب ہیں محمد کے خدا کے سامنے جو مراتب ہیں محمد کے خدا کے سامنے سب وہ رتبے ہیں علی کے مصطفیٰ کے سامنے جو مراتب ہیں محمد کے خدا کے سامنے کیسی ایزا نزع کی ہم مرتے مرتے خوش ہو رہے کیسی ایزا نزع کی ہم مرتے مرتے خوش رہے اپنا دم نکلا کیا شیر خدا کے سامنے اپنا دم نکلا کیا مشکل کشا کے سامنے جو مراتب ہے محمد اور ذوالفقار حیدری کا بھاگ گیا یوں باک پر ذوالفقار حیدری کا بھاگ گیا یوں باک پر ارے جان دیتے ہیں عدو اس کج ادا کے سامنے اور آتے ہی حیدر کے یوں چپ ہو گئے کیوں اے ملک ارے اب نہیں کچھ بولتے شیر خدا کے سامنے دونوں میں کہتا ہے کسے اے نصیری آ چلے تیرے خدا کے سامنے جو مراتب ہے محمد اور شمر سے کہتی تھی زینب ارے چین مت چادر میری ہائے شمر سے کہتی تھی زینب ارے چین مت چادر میری کیا کہے گا حشر میں تو مصطفیٰ کے سامنے اور مر کے چہرے پر لہو اصغر کا کہتے تھے حسین میں اسی صورت سے جاؤں گا خدا کے سامنے جو مراتب ہے محمد اور سرد آہیں کھینچتا ہوں ماتم شبیر میں گل ہو شم میں عمر جودت اس ہوا کے سامنے جو مراتب ہے محمد فاتحہ اور محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد قبلہ سیری اہل بیت ختم ہوئے اور واپسی مدینہ کا سفر ہے اس سلسلے میں مرثیے کے 2 یا 3 بند ایک مرتبہ اور نعرہ صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجہ درود پڑھ کے وطن کو چلا حسین کا لال درود پڑھ کے وطن کو چلا حسین کا لال قریب پہنچی مدینہ کے جب رسول کی تو اپنے ہاتھوں پہ زینب نے رکھے سر کے بال کہا مدینے سے کلثوم نے برنج و ملال کہا مدینے سے کلثوم نے برنج و ملا، ارے لٹا کے آئے ہیں زہرا کے سب گھرانے کو، ارے نہ کر قبول تو ہم بے کسوں کے آنے کو، مدینے ہم تیرے والی کو آئے ہیں کھو کر، ارے مدینے گردن شبیر پر چلا خنجر، مدینے کوفے میں سر ننگے ہم پھرے در در، مدینے داغ رسن ہے ہمارے شانوں پر، ہم آئے زندہ پزہرا کا نور عین نہیں، مدینے اکبر و قاسم نہیں، حسین نہیں، ہلی زمین مدینہ کی اس گھڑی پہ ہاں، کیا بشیر کو سجاد نے طلب اس دم، گلے میں شال عزا ڈال دی بدی دائنا، اور اس کے ہاتھ میں رو کر دیا سیاہ علم، اور اس کے ہاتھ میں رو کر دیا سیاہ علم، کہا کہ جا نہیں گو اپنے منہ دکھانے کی، مگر وطن میں خبر کر دے میرے آنے کی، تو چلا بشیر یہ دیتا ہوا خبر ہر جا، مگر محلہ ہاشم میں دیکھتا ہے کیا، کہ ایک مریضہ سرے راہ ہے کھڑی تنہا، جو نام پوچھا تو رو رو کے بولی وہ صغرا، ارے جو نام پوچھا تو رو رو کے بولی وہ صغرا، بشیر کہنے لگا کیوں تو شور و شین میں ہے، کہا یہ حال میرا فرقت حسین میں ہے، کھڑی ہوں منتظر اکبر کو دیکھوں کب آئے، میں گھر سے نکلی ہوں شاید کہ قاصد آ جائے، خدا کہیں میرے بچھڑوں کو خیر سے لائے، کہ یہ مریضہ لب گور ہے شفا پائے، کوئی پدر کی خبر لائے پاؤں پڑتی ہو، ارے جدا مسیح سے ہوں ایڑیاں رگڑتی ہوں، درود پڑھ کے وطن کو چلا حسین کا
जज़ाकल्लाह। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। सारी तारीफ़ अल्लाह के लिए और दरूद व सलाम मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद के लिए। सल्ले अला मोहम्मद। Mo'min Mo'minat, brothers and sisters, under the auspices of Anjuman Agam and Abbas, these three majalis are being held at the Abbas, which will go until Sunday. And once again, we have the honor of having the presence of Moulana Bilal Rizvi, who has come from Dallas, Texas. Moulana Bilal Rizvi needs no introduction, especially at the Abbas. He has been coming and delivering majalis at the Abbas, speeches at the Abbas for the last almost 9 years. And every year we look forward to listening to his judicious and prudent speeches. As far as his background is concerned, he was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and has been reading majlises for a very long time since he was a kid. But after completing his formal education, after getting a master's degree, he actually embarked further towards the religious forefront, and now is a student, mashallah, at Hosai Najaf. We just pray to Almighty Allah that for the sake of the 14 infallibles, Chaudham Asameen, may Allah bless him further. May Allah give him health, wealth, prosperity, and all the happiness of the world. May he increase his knowledge even further, and may he face no sorrow other than the sorrow of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Since the days of the Shahadat of Imam Hassan Askari are nigh, so I would just like to quote Imam Hassan Askari, who once stated that the best of the brothers among you is the one who forgets your wrongs against him, but remembers your kindness towards him. With these words of Imam Hassan Askari, I would like to request Moulana Bilal Rizvi to please come to the member and deliver a speech. Par Muhammad wale Muhammad salawat.
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، والصلاة والسلام على إمام القبلتين ونبي الحرمين وأفضل الثقلين وجد الحسن والحسين، الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين، والذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على صاحب الدعوة النبوية والسولة الحيدرية والإسمة الفاطمية والحلم الحسنية والشجاعة الحسينية والعبادة السجادية والمآثر الباقرية والآثار الجعفرية والعلوم الكاذبية والحجج الرضبية والجود التقوية والنقاوة النقوية والهيبة العسكرية والغيبة الإلهية. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه. أما بعد، فقد قال الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا نساء النبي لستن كأحد من النساء إن اتقيتن فلا تخضعن بالقول فيطمع الذي في قلبه مرض، وقلن قولا معروفا وقرن في بيوتكن ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية الأولى وأقمنا الصلاة وأطعنا الزكاة آتينا الزكاة وأطعنا الله ورسوله إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. For the love of Ahlulbayt alayhim as-salam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the love of Fatima al-Zahra in particular, a second salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. To give the Imam of our time condolences as we approach the martyrdom of his father, a louder salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The verse in question is a verse which is known to each and every single one of you. And that ayat is chapter 33, Suratul Ahzab, verse number 33, known as Ayatul Tat-hir. You know, there is arguably no verse of the Quran which is as important to our Shia identity as Ayatul Tat-hir. And the evidence for that is that there is no other ayat of the Quran besides Ayatul Tat-hir that we gather as a community in occasions of happiness and sadness, and we listen to the sha'nun nuzul or the reason of the revelation of that verse besides Ayatul Tat-hir. You know, there is no other ayat of the Quran that we are gathering as a community and listening to the sha'nun nuzul of that ayat. When we get together in occasions of happiness, sadness, majalis, milad, wilada, wafat, and we listen to Hadithul Kisa. Hadithul Kisa is the sha'nun nuzul, or the reason of the revelation of Ayatul Tat-hir. You know, furthermore, when it comes to the realm of dialogue with other schools within the Muslim world, you find that oftentimes when someone asks that which ayat of the Quran shows the position of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, you find that the most often quoted verse of the Quran is this ayat known as Ayatul Tat-hir. But you find more often than not, when we quote Ayatul Tat-hir, a number of objections and replies they come forward. For example, as noted, Ayatul Tat-hir is not a complete ayat, but rather Ayatul Tat-hir, what we know, innama yuridullah, to the end portion, is only a portion of an ayat. You know, further than that, you find that people will say that when you look at the context of this verse, the context of this verse, both before and after, is about the wives of Rasulullah. You know, when an individual comes on Fox News and he quotes the ayat of the Quran, kill them wherever you find them, our natural response is that this is out of context, that everything in the Quran has a context. But at the same time, is it fair that when it comes to Ayatul Tat-hir, we take it outside of context? And that's why the subject of analysis tonight is to answer this question as to whether Ayatul Tat-hir relates to the wives of Rasulullah, or Ayatul Tat-hir is specifically for 5 individuals in the time period of Rasulullah. You know, naturally when these objections, they come forth, objections about this verse of the Quran which mentions the position of Ahlul Bayt, naturally the first thing which comes into our minds is how can we reply? But rather than that, the deeper level of this is that the question we need to be asking is that what is our relationship with the Quran? Because when you look at Imam al-Hussein and when you look at Ahlul Bayt after Karbala, you find that there is ayat after ayat which Imam al-Hussein would quote to show the status of Ahlul Bayt and the status of his companions. For example, on the day of Ashura, on the martyrdom of Hazrat Ali Akbar, Imam al-Hussein quotes Surat Ali Imran, chapter 3, verse 33. And he says, Inna Allah istafa Adama wa Nuhan wa ala Ibrahim wa ala Imran ala al-alameen. That Allah has chosen Adam, Nuh, the progeny of Ibrahim and Imran over the rest of everyone else. That when Imam al-Hussein uses this ayat of the Quran, on the martyrdom of Hazrat Ali Akbar, it demonstrates the maqam of Ali Akbar alayhi salam. You know, there's another maqtal, the maqtal of Ibn Sharashub, the Manaqib. And over there, Ibn Sharashub says it goes even farther, that each time the companions of Imam al-Hussein would go to the battlefield, Imam al-Hussein would recite an ayat. And you know what ayat Imam al-Hussein would recite? He would recite the ayat of the Quran, مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَهَدَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. That from amongst the believers are those who are truthful to their covenants before Allah. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَدَى نَحْبَهُ. Some of them have passed away. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَنْتَذِرْ وَمَا بَدَّلُوا تَبْدِيلًا. Then there are others who are waiting, but they don't hesitate. They don't change in any bit. You find this is the day of Ashura. But even afterwards, when we look at the sermons of Imam Zainul Abidin and Sayyida Zainab, you find there is ayat after ayat of the Quran. And if one doesn't understand those verses of the Quran or is familiar with those verses of the Quran, then they won't understand that fadail and that maqam of Ahlulbayt which the Imam is explaining. You know, when you look, for example, the sermon of Imam Zainul Abidin, the sermon of Imam Zainul Abidin is divided into 6 portions. The first portion is the sifat of Ahlul Bayt. Over there, the Imam says, Ayyuhan nas u'tina sittan wa fuddilna bi sab'in. That we have been given 6 and we have been preferred by the means of 7. أعطينا العلم والحلم والسماحة والفصاحة والشجاعة والمحبة في قلوب المؤمنين. That when Allah gave us, He gave us knowledge, and He gave us generosity, and He gave us eloquence, and He gave us bravery. Allah also placed the love of the believers within our hearts. In other words, other people have ilm, and other people have generosity and bravery and hilm and forbearance. But when it comes to us Ahlul Bayt, Allah gives us that knowledge, and Allah gives us that hilm, and Allah gives us that bravery, and Allah places our hearts, our loves within the hearts of the believers. But then after that, the second portion, the Imam, he mentions personalities who were in Ahlul Bayt that Allah gave preference and fazilat to Ahlul Bayt through those personalities. He says, وَفُضِّلْنَا بِأَنَّ مِنَّا نَبِيُّ الْمُخْتَارِ وَمِنَّا الصِّدِّيقُ وَمِنَّا الطَّيَّارِ وَمِنَّا أَسَدُ اللَّهِ وَأَسَدُ رَسُولِ وَمِنَّا سِبْتَ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ. That when Allah preferred us, He preferred us through whom? He preferred us through Rasulullah. And then He preferred us through the one who was Siddiq and truthful, Ali ibn Abi Talib. That Imam Zainul Abidin in the court of Yazid highlighted that if there is any Siddiq in this ummah, it is my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then he says, from us is Ja'far al-Tayyar. From us is the lion of Allah and is Rasul Hamza. And from us are the leaders of the youth of paradise, Hassan and Hussein. So you find this is the first portion. Then in the second portion, he mentions these personalities. The third portion, the Imam begins to give virtues of Rasulullah, which other people, they shared in those qualities, but Rasulullah was the best in those qualities. The next portion, the Imam says, Man arafani faqad arafani. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْرِفْنِي فَأَنْبَحْتُهُ بِحَسَبِي وَنَسَبِي. Those who know me, and those who don't know me, I will tell you about my background, about my lineage. أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ, O people, أَنَا ابْنُ مَكَّةَ وَمِنَى. That my background is what? My background is that I am the son of Makkah and Mina. أَنَا ابْنُ زَمْزَمْ وَالصَّفَا. That I am the son of Zamza and the mountain of Safa. أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ حَمَلَ الرُّكْنَ بِأَطْرَافِ الرِّدَى. That I am the son of the one who carried the black stone within his cloak. أَنَا ابْنُ خَيْرِ مَنْ اعْتَزَرَ وَارْتَدَى. That I am the son of the best of those who would put on an azar, اعْتَزَرَ وَارْتَدَى, and would put on a cloak. In other words, there are other people that put on cloaks, and there's other people that wore clothing, but Rasulullah was the best to do it. And the method of Rasulullah was the best when it came towards them. أَنَا ابْنُ خَيْرِ مَنْ انْتَعَلَى وَاهْتَفَى. That I am the son of the best of him. When he would put on na'alain and sandals, he was the best. And when he was hafi and barefoot, he was the best. أَنَا ابْنُ خَيْرِ مَنْ طَافَ وَسَعَى, that I am the son of the best of the one who did sa'i, when he ran between the mountains of Safa and Marwa, and who did tawaf. أَنَا ابْنُ خَيْرِ مَنْ حَجَّ وَلَبَّى, I am the son of the best of whom who went to Hajj and said labbaik. You see, this portion over here, there are other individuals who have done these actions, but Rasulullah was the best to do it. But then in the next portion, you find that Imam Zainul Abidin, he begins to give sifat of Rasulullah, that if you understand the Quran, you'll understand what those attributes are. And those sifat are certain attributes that no other human being besides Rasulullah has. He says, أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ حُمِلَ عَلَى الْبُرَاكِ فِي الْهَوَى, that I am the son of the one whom Burak carried upon the air. أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ أُسْرِيَ بِهِ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ الْأَقْصَى, that I am the son of the one who was taken from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. In other words, the ayat of Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17. أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ بَلَغَ بِهِ جِبْرَائِيلِ إِلَى سِدْرَةِ الْمُنْتَهَى, that I am the son of the one whom Jibra'il was with him until Sidrat al-Muntaha. أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ دَنَا فَتَجَلَّ فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنَ أَوْ أَدْنَى, that I am the son of the one who came so close that it was as if he was 2 bows length or closer to Rasulullah. أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ صَلَّ بِمَلَائِكَةِ السَّمَاءِ, that I am the son of the one who prayed and led the malaika in salat and prayers. And then he says, أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ أَوْحَى إِلَيْهِ الْجَلِيلُ مَا أَوْحَى, that I am the son of the one that Allah revealed what He revealed unto him. You know, the ayat of the Quran doesn't say what Allah revealed unto Rasulullah. But you find this maqam of Rasulullah is such a maqam that, oh insan, there are certain things that Rasulullah received in wahi which no one else received. أَنَا ابْنُ مَنْ أَوْحَى إِلَيْهِ الْجَلِيلُ مَا أَوْحَى. But you find the key point over here, whether it is Imam al-Husayn's quotations on the day of Ashura, or whether it is the sermon of Imam Zainul Abidin, you find that the maqam of Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam is being explained through the Quran. And without a doubt, there is no ayat of the Quran which is clearer in showing the status of Ahlulbayt than ayatul Tat-hir. You know, other ayat, there is an imkan, there is a possibility that someone will say this ayat is about such a person. But over here, when Allah says Ahlulbayt, there is no companion, there is no one who has the audacity to say we are part of Ahlul Bayt. And in that regard, Ayatul Tat-hir is set apart from other ayat. But now when it comes to Ayatul Tat-hir, the first question that is often raised about this verse is that when you look at what is before Ayatul Tat-hir and what is afterwards, it is about the wives of Rasulullah. You know, when you look at the verses, beginning with chapter 33, verse 32, 33, and chapter 33, verse 34, you find that it begins by saying, Ya Nisa an-Nabi, that, O wives of the Prophet, lastunna ka ahadin min an-nisa, that you are not like any other women. In ittaqaytunna fala takhda'na bil-qawl, فَيَطْمَعَ الَّذِي فِي قَلْبِهِ مَرَضٌ. And do not be soft in your speech, so those who have sicknesses and maraz, disease within their heart, they're attracted, or they're inclined towards you. وَقُلْنَ قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. When you speak, speak in a straightforward manner. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, and stay within your homes. And we'll come back towards this point. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Then after that, the ayat, we come into the next verse, chapter 33, verse 33. وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَا تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. And do not show your fineries, do not show your zinat in the way that they would show it in the time of Jahiliyyah. وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. That give established prayers, give charity, obey Allah and His Prophet. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ رِجْسَ أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. And then it says, Allah has kept impurities away from you, O Ahlul Bayt, and purified you completely. But then it goes into chapter 33, verse 34. After Allah says this, He returns again to the wives of Rasulullah. And He says, وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. And remember those ayat of Allah, those signs of Allah and that wisdom which was recited in your houses. إِنَّ كَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. That إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ لَطِيفًا خَبِيرًا is what the ayat is. That indeed Allah is latif and Allah is all aware. So when we look at this, you find what we call Ayatul Tat-hir. Before it is about the wives of Rasulullah. After it is about the wives of Rasulullah. So the first point of analysis when it comes to Ayatul Tat-hir is what replies can we give to those individuals who say that this ayat, which we call Ayatul Tat-hir, is about the azwaj of Rasulullah. Because on the outward, it seems that they have a case. You know, the first point to make note is that when you look at the Quran, oftentimes the Quran changes the subject very quickly. You know, when you go, for example, you go to Suratul Qiyamah, and you look at verses 6 through 15, all of them are about the Day of Judgment. Ayyana yawmul qiyamah. فَإِذَا بَرِقَ الْبَصَرُ وَخَسَفَ الْقَمَرُ وَجُمِعَ الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ يَسْأَلُ الْإِنسَانُ يَوْمَئِذٍ أَيْنَ الْمَفَرُ كَلَّا لَا وَزَرَ إِلَى رَبِّكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْمُسْتَقَرُ ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيره. These verses, they describe the day of judgment, that upon that day the moon and the sun will come together, there will be an eclipse, man will be shown his deeds. All of them are about the day of judgment. But now when you come to verses 16 through 19, they're about the Quran. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. That, O Rasulullah, do not hasten to recite this Quran. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنا فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنا ثم إن علينا بيانا. That, O Rasulullah, once we have recited the Quran, follow its recitation, then we will explain it. So over here, 16 through 19 is about the Quran. But 6 through 15 was all about what? It was about the Day of Judgment. But then again, after this, Allah, He returns to the Day of Judgment. كَلَّا بَلْ تُحِبُّونَ الْآجِلَ وَتَذَرُونَ الْآخِرَةَ. That you prefer this world and you forget the hereafter. وَجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَادِرَةٌ. On that day, their faces will be splendid. So you find one of the styles of the Quran is that the Quran, it shifts themes. So if Allah is speaking about the wives of Rasulullah, and then He goes to Ahlul Bayt, and then He returns to the wives of Rasulullah, you find that this is something which is not against the style of the Quran. This is the first point. The second point in regards to why Allah does this is that this is a point of balagha and eloquence. You know, if in this 50-minute speech, for 50 minutes, I'm speaking about Ayatul Tat-hir, and then for 1 minute, I begin to speak about the Atlanta Falcons or the Atlanta Hawks, you'll forget those 49 minutes, but you'll remember that 1 minute. In the same way, when Allah changes topics, you may forget the other portions, but you will never forget the line, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. So you find this is the second point. The third point in regards to this ayat is that just because there are portions of the Quran next to each other, it does not mean that they were revealed together. When you look at the Quran, there are many verses that were revealed in Mecca next to verses that were revealed in Medina. And there are verses that were revealed in Medina next to verses that were revealed in Mecca. You find this is the next point. The fourth point about these sequence of verses is that when you look at the wording, you find that everything before Ayatul Tat-hir is in the feminine. You know, in the Arabic language, what demonstrates the feminine is a form of noon. For example, it says, إِنِ اتَّقَيْتُنَّ فَلَا تَخْدَعْنَ وَقُلْنَا وَقَرْنَا وَأَقِمْنَا وَآتِينَا وَأَطِعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. All of that is the feminine. But when it comes to ayatul Tat-hir, it doesn't say إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُنَّ, but rather it says أَنْكُمُ. That Allah has kept impurities away from you, O Ahlulbayt. The fact that Allah switches from the masculine to the feminine, it shows those ayat which were before it are about someone else. And these verses that say, O Ahlulbayt, are about someone else. So you find this is the reality. But further than that, there's another point as well. When you look at this ayat, what does the word innama do within this ayat? You find number one, hisar, as very well stated. But the other thing that innama shows is that it is definitive, hatman, that Allah will keep impurities away. Everything before it is a shart and a condition. In ittaqaytunna, O azwajun nabi, if you have taqwa, do all of these things. If you have taqwa, then watch your speech. And if you have taqwa, stay within your homes. And if you have taqwa, obey Allah and His Prophet. So if there is an example where a wife of Rasulullah goes against that context, you find that itself is dalil. Ayatul Tat-hir is not about the wives of Rasulullah. Practically, those who say that Ayatul Tat-hir includes or is about the wives of Rasulullah, practically, is there anyone in the Muslim Ummah who says that the azwaj of Rasulullah are ma'soom? When you look, you find all of them acknowledge that at least one of the wives of Rasulullah made a mistake. And that is the portion of the ayat that says, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, that, O azwajun nabi, stay within your homes. There's a book by the title of Al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain. It's a very famous book. And what Al-Hakim al-Nishapuri, the author, does within that book is that every compiler of hadith had his own criteria. And in this book, he gathered all of those hadith according to the criteria of Bukhari and Muslim that Bukhari and Muslim did not mention within their own books. And within that, there is a hadith from Ammara ibn Abdul Rahman. And she narrates that before the day of Jamal, Amir al-Mu'mineen comes to Salma. And when he comes to Salma in Mustadrak al-Sahihain, it's stated that Salma, she says, Wallahi, innaka la'ala al-haqqi wal-haqqu ma'ak. That by Allah, you are upon the truth, Ali, and the truth is with you. Then after that, what does Salma say? Salma, she says, وَلَوْلَا أَنِّي أَكْرَهُ أَن يَأْسِيَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَإِنَّهُ أَمَرَنَا أَن نَقِرَّ فِي بُيُوتِنَا لَسِرْتُ مَعَكَ. She says, Oh Ali, if it was not for the fact that we would disobey Allah and His Messenger, because His Messenger and Allah ordered us to stay within the homes, I would come with you, O Ali ibn Abi Talib. You find Salma, a wife of Rasulullah, she is acknowledging over here that the meaning of this ayat is that even on the day of Jamal, it is not acceptable to go out. There's another narration as well. There are others, when they refer to this ayat, they say that there are exceptions. That if the wives of Rasulullah have a need, or if it's for Hajj, if it's for Umrah, then they're allowed to go, and that is what that wife of Rasulullah, she did. You find the reply over here is that when you look within the narrations of Ahlul Sunnah, you find that there are many hadith which mention that Aisha was regretful. Now I'll examine what she was regretful about, that's a separate matter. But for example, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he says that tabki hatta tuballa khimaruha, that Aisha would cry so much after the day of Jamal that her khimar and her veil would become wet from the tears that she would have. There's another riwayah as well. And this riwayah, there's an individual by the name of Hisham, and this is in Mustadrak al-Sahihain also. It stated that Aisha, she says to Hisham, Wadidtu, that Wadidtu thaqiltu asharatan mithl al-Harith ibn Hisham, that I would like to cry over 10 children like you have. That would be better for me than asir masiri ma'abn Zubayr, than that journey which I had took with the son of Zubayr. You see, over here, if we accept these narrations, everyone in the Muslim Ummah is saying that Aisha was regretful. For a person to be regretful, it means that they committed a sin or did something wrong. And if they did something wrong, you find practically in Sirat, this is a contradiction to Ayat Tat-hir. That Ayat Tat-hir is saying that all rids has been kept away. And if somebody is admitting that there was a rids within their life at one point, you find that they're automatically taken out of the folds of this ayat. But further than that, when it comes to the question why Aisha was regretful, a person who is truly regretful rights the wrongs that they made. If we look at Hur, how did Hur right the wrong that he made? He comes to Imam al-Hussein and he says, I will be the first to be martyred on your side. I say, show me one narration from the wife of Rasulullah after the day of Jamal in Shia or Sunni sources where she says, obey Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ali is the Khalifa. If you are repenting and you're changing yourself, then you right the wrong that you made, but you find there's no such narration. So you find the fourth answer to those who say that Ayatul Tat-hir is about the azwaj of Rasulullah, you find practically go and look at Sirah and go and look what they themselves have said. There's a narration that demonstrates even amongst the wives of Rasulullah, there was a hierarchy. Not all of them were viewed the same. This narration is in Bukhari. In Kitab al-Tawheed in Bukhari, Aisha, she narrates that ma ghirtu ala imra'atin ma ghirtu ala Khadija. That there is no woman that I was as jealous of as Khadija. فَلَقَدْ كَانَ أَمَرُهُ رَبُّهُ أَن يُبَشِّرَهَا بِبَيْتٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. And the reason that I am jealous of her is that Allah ordered Rasulullah to give basharat to Khadija that she'll have a house in paradise. That there is no other wife besides Rasulullah who has been given this type of basharat. Yes, there are other wives. There are other wives who knew the truth, like Salama. When it comes to the issue of وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, Salama very well realized what this verse was saying. And she even warned Aisha that Rasulullah said that one of you will go near an area called Hawab. And when you are near Hawab, the dogs of Hawab will begin to bark. At that moment, know you are in the wrong. Tabari, who is the most famous non-Shia historian, in volume 4, there is a narration of Al-Urani. Al-Urani was an individual who sold the camel to Aisha. And Al-Urani, he says that when an individual came to me, he said, I will give you 1,000 dirham for this camel. And he said, 1,000 is much more than what it's worth. He said that if you knew who wants this camel, you would ask for even more. So he says, who wants this camel? They say it is the wife of Rasulullah, Aisha. Urani says that then I will give the camel for free. That man says, come with us on our journey. As they were going upon their journey, one area comes where they ask that Ayyuma in hada, that what water is this? Urani says that I replied by saying Ma'ul Hawab, that this is the water of Hawab. At that moment, Tabari records, Fasarahat Aisha, that Aisha at that point began to shout and yell. Wadarabat Ododa Abiriha, and she strikes her camel fa'anakhathu, so it sits on the ground. And then after that, it says that ثُمَّ قَالَتْ رُدُّونِي تَلَاتًا, that 3 times she says, take me back, take me back, take me back. And at that point, Ibn Zubayr, he comes up and he says to her that no, through you, Allah will reconcile the Muslims. In other words, you find that everyone was clear that when the ayat of the Quran says, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, that what the responsibilities of the wives of Rasulullah were. Now, if we are saying that everyone in the Muslim Ummah recognizes that the wives of Rasulullah made mistakes at certain times, or at least certain wives, then the question is how do you reconcile that with Ayatul Tat-hir? Because Ayatul Tat-hir is saying that rids has been kept away. You know, the answer that they give is they say that over here when Allah is making his irada, and he says, Innama yuridullah, this irada is not taqwini. You know what this means is that Allah's commands are of two types. One type of command no one can oppose. Innama amruhu idha arada shay'an an yaqulu lahu kun fayakun. You know, when Allah decrees for us to die, there is no one who can stop it. And when Allah creates the world, there is no one who can stop the creation of the world. But then there is a second type of Allah's command. That command, Allah says, I want you to pray salat. Over here, this irada is tashri'i, that I want you to pray salat. People can oppose that. So they say that when Allah is saying that, O Ahlulbayt, we have kept impurities away from you, this is not taqwini. Basically, Allah is saying that, O Ahlulbayt, we want you to be pure. And because it says that, the wives are included as well. You know, the reply you give to this is that if you take this meaning, you have a massive problem. And that massive problem is that the word innama is restrictive, meaning that anything after innama is only for that group. If you are saying that Allah is saying to Ahlul Bayt, remain pure, there is nothing taqweeni, Allah has done nothing, then that would mean this command is only for Ahlul Bayt and not the rest of the ummah. Because the word innama is restricting that the rest of the ummah shouldn't stay away from rids. You find that's problematic as well. But you know, further than that, the key point within this ayat centers around the meaning of the term Ahlul Bayt. You know, when you look in the Muslim world, you find that there are really different views about Ahlul Bayt. One view says that it is about 5 in the time of Rasulullah. A second view says it is about those 5 and the azwaj and the wives of Rasulullah. A third opinion says it is only about the wives of Rasulullah. A fourth opinion, it says it is about Ahlul Bayt in the wider sense. You know, what is Ahlul Bayt in the wider sense? You know, in Sahih al-Muslim, there is a narration from Zayd ibn Arqam, where Zayd ibn Arqam, he comes to Rasulullah, and he says, O Rasulullah, are the wives from the Ahlul Bayt of a rajul and a man? Rasulullah says, a wife can be divorced. A wife, she can be returned towards her home. And Ahlul Bayt are those upon whom sadaqah is haram. Zayd ibn Arqam says, who are those? So you find the reply that's given by Rasulullah in this hadith, according to this hadith, ala haddi ta'birihim, is that it is the family of Aqil, and the family of Ja'far, and the family of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the family of Ibn Abbas, the family of Abbas. Without a doubt, they are Ahlul Bayt in the general sense, that the family of Aqil is considered Ahlul Bayt. But over here in the Quranic ayat, are they Ahlul Bayt is the question. And in this regard, when we look at many of the hadith about when Rasulullah gathered, there is a line which only makes sense when you understand this opinion exists. And that is the line where Rasulullah says, Allahumma ha'ula'i ahl bayti. You know, if these 5 are already there, why does Rasulullah have to say, these are my Ahlul Bayt? But when he says, ha'ula'i ahlul bayt, and he uses this ishara, he is showing that if there is anyone who is Ahlul Bayt, it is these 5 individuals in my lifetime. That this ayat is not about other members who are from my family, it is about a specific group from my family. That's why, you know, in our version, which we have of Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, when it says, Ya Rabbi wa man taht al-kisa, who is underneath the cloak, you find an interesting answer comes. You know, usually when you give the answer through the most well-known personality. You know, if I say, whose household is this? You'll say the name of the elder of the household, and then you'll take the name of the children. But over here, Ya Rabbi wa man tahta al-kisa, who is under the cloak? And you find the reply isn't that it is a Rasulullah and the daughter of Rasulullah and the grandchildren of Rasulullah. But the reply is hum Fatimatu wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. Hum Fatimatu wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. Why is this the answer? Because over here Allah is giving the ma'yar and the barometer for who Ahlulbayt is. When He makes Janab-e-Zahra the markaz and the central point, He is showing that if you are mahram to Fatimatu-Zahra, you are Ahlulbayt. But if you are not mahram to Fatimatu-Zahra, you are outside of Ahlulbayt. You know, there's even one more finer point in that statement. The point is this, is that when you look at the word for son in Arabic, ibn is the singular. In Arabic, the difference between Arabic and other languages, Urdu, Farsi, even English, is that Arabic has the dual form. And if you find that within this incident, when they gather, the children of Janab-e-Zahra are only two. Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein. So if we are going according to Arabic, she should have said wa ibnaha. But it says hum Fatimatu wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. Meaning that there is the possibility that there will be other children of Fatimatu Zahra within Ayat Tat-hir. Hum Fatimatu wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. But you find this version of a Hadithul Kisa is what we have in our narrations. But when you look in the Muslim world, you find that there are at least 12 different Sahaba who have narrated this revelation of Ayatul Tat-hir for Ahlulbayt. At least 12 different individuals have narrated Hadithul Kisa. Now, it doesn't mean Hadithul Kisa in the long version that we have, but it means in the general action that Rasulullah gathers with the five and the ayat is revealed. For example, you find that Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas narrates this incident. Anas ibn Malik narrates this incident. Ibn Abbas narrates it. Abu Darda narrates it. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari narrates it. Aisha narrates it. Salama narrates it. Tawban, the servant of Rasulullah, narrates it. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri narrates it. So if all of these different individuals are narrating that Ayatul Tat-hir is about these five individuals, the question is that where did the opinion come that it is about the wives of Rasulullah? You know, for example, when you go to Sahih al-Muslim, in the kitab, the book about the fadail of the Sahaba, in the bab of the fadail of Ahlul Bayt al-Nabi, in the section, the chapter about the fadail of Ahlul Bayt, on sunnah.com, hadith number 2424, the exact wording of the hadith is this. قالت Aisha, that Aisha says, خرج النبي غداة, that one morning Rasulullah came out of his house. وعليه مرط مرحل من شعر أسود, and upon him was a cloak made of black camel hair which was striped. فجاء الحسن ibn Ali فأدخله. Hassan ibn Ali comes, Rasulullah brings him underneath the cloak. ثم جاء الحسين فدخل معه. You know, the first one says فأدخله. When Imam al-Hassan comes, Rasulullah brings him under the cloak. But when it comes to Imam al-Hussein, it says فَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ. Imam al-Hussein enters on his own. In other words, Imam al-Hussein had such a relationship with Rasulullah that there was no ijazah that was needed for Imam al-Hussein. فَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ. Then after that it says ثُمَّ جَاءَتْ فَاطِمَةَ فَأَدْخَلَهَا. Janab-e-Zahra comes, he brings her underneath the cloak. ثم جاء علي فأدخله. Amir al-Mu'mineen comes, he brings Amir al-Mu'mineen underneath the cloak. And Aisha, she narrates at that point, ثم قال, Rasulullah says, إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم رجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. That Allah has kept all impurities away from you, O Ahlul Bayt. Over here in Sahih al-Muslim, the words of Aisha, how much more clearer can you get of who was underneath that cloak? You know, when we have these discussions, which are academic discussions, many people, they'll say that you have a personal grudge against certain individuals. You know, I say that I've never met any of them. This grudge is because the Quran is demonstrating what haqq is. And the hadith of Rasulullah demonstrated what haqq is. You know, these individuals, they didn't rob from me directly. If they harm someone, they harm the khulafa of Allah, the khulafa of Rasulullah, the a'immah upon this earth. So you find in that regard, it is not personal, it is an academic opinion, and this is an academic discussion. So you find over here, this is the next point. But when you look at those who say that Ayat Tat-hir is about the azwaj of Rasulullah only, and it does not include those 5 that we know, Ashabul Kisa, you find all of those riwayat, they go back to one individual. And the question is what is the biography of that one individual? You know, that individual is Ikrama, the servant of Ibn Abbas. All of the riwayat that say that it is only about the wives of Rasulullah, they go back to Ikrama. So now the question is, if you are relying upon one person, what is the biography of this individual? You know, when we look in the works of Rijal, you find Ad-Dahabi. He says about this individual, كَانَ طَائِنًا فِي الْإِسْلَامِ. This individual, he would insult the religion of Islam. وَلَا يُصَلِّي, and he would not pray. And it's recorded about him that one day he's standing outside of Masjidun Nabawi, and as he looks into the mosque of Rasulullah, he says, "Ma fihi illa kafir," that there is no one inside here except who is a disbeliever. You find this individual was one of the Khawarij. If you look at the ilm of Rijal, what they have said about this man, everyone has said he is not a person who can rely upon. But at the same time, the one person who relies upon him is Bukhari. So you find the refutation which is given is that because Bukhari quotes from Ikrama, Ikrama is authentic. But I say, oh Bukhari, you know, if you look at some of the people whom Bukhari quotes from, one of the individuals will absolutely shock you. And that individual is Imran ibn Hittan. You know, Imran ibn Hittan wrote a line of poetry. And you may say, a line of poetry praising whom? Is this line about Rasulullah? Is it about the Quran? Is it praising the religion of Islam? No, this line of poetry is in the praise of Ibn Muljam. And you know what he says in that line? He says, Ya darbatu min taqiyyan ma arada biha illa liyabluga min dil arshi ridwana. He says that strike of Ibn Muljam was the strike of a pious individual who only intended the pleasure of Allah through it. You find such an individual, if Bukhari is quoting from him and he is quoting from Ikrama, the question occurs is that if you have no issue quoting from the Khawarij, then why do you have an issue quoting from Imam Zainul Abidin? And Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq, you find from Imam Zainul Abidin, from these A'immah, there's only a handful of narrations. So you find just because Bukhari narrates from Ikrama, it doesn't mean that Ikrama is authentic, but rather it casts a shadow of doubt on Bukhari himself. And you know, it's stated that this Ikrama, the way that he spread this opinion, that Ayat Tat-hir is only about the wives of Rasulullah, it stated that he would go into the marketplace. And when he would go into the marketplace, he would say, Man sha'a bahaltuhu, that whoever wants, I will engage with them in a mubahala. Annaha nazalat fi nisa'in nabi. And this mubahila will be about that ayatul Tat-hir is only for the wives of Rasulullah. So you find all of those riwayat, they go back to such an individual. And when such an individual is criticized, you find that we can't rely upon such an individual. So you find this was the next point about ayatul Tat-hir. Now as we continue through this ayat, the next thing that we note about this verse is that the wording says لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. It does not say لِيُذْهِبَ مِنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. Now the question is that what is the difference between min and an? You know, one of the meanings of min is for something to be a part of something. That Husaynun minni wa ana min al-Husayn. Hussein is a part of me. Fatima bad'atun minni. Fatima is a part of me. Aliyun minni. Ali is a part of me. All of them are showing that the word min means that it is a part. But over here, Allah doesn't say لِيُذْهِبَ مِنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. What this means is that rijs was never a part of Ahlulbayt. But rather, rijs was always kept away from Ahlulbayt. If Allah had used the word min, then it would mean that you would remove rijs. But to remove rijs means that it is a part of you. But over here, the ayat is saying that Allah has always kept the rijs away from Ahlul Bayt. And that's why when you look at the meaning of what a rijs is, you find a rijs is something which is detested to someone. You know, there are 9 ayat of the Quran which use the word rijs. 9 verses of the Quran, they use the word rijs. And what they demonstrate is that all sorts of sins are considered rijs. There are different types. For example, one verse says, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنْسَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. That gambling and intoxicants and the game of lots and the worship of idols, all of them are rijs. You know, another ayat, Surah Al-An'am, chapter 6, verse 125. Over there, Allah, He says, وَمَنْ يُرِدُ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَ يَشْرَ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. That whomsoever Allah wants to guide, He expands their breasts to submit. In other words, He prepares them to accept the truth. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. That when Allah wants to misguide someone, the first thing He does, He constricts his breast. His openness is not there. It's as if he is going through the sky and suffocating because he cannot recognize that truth. كَذَلِكَ يَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. And this is how Allah, He places the rijs upon those who do not believe. In other words, those who have rijs, Allah closes their light and their eyes to haqq and truth. And those who are away from rijs, you find their status is not only are they with the truth, but they themselves are haqq. You know, that's why the hadith of Rasulullah, when it said Aliyun ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'aliyin, you know this part, that Ali is with the truth is with Ali. After that, it says, turn the truth wherever Ali ibn Abi Talib turns. It doesn't say turn Ali wherever the truth turns. In other words, Ali is the Imam of haqq, and haqq is the ma'moom and the follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And you find that reality is only for somebody whom Allah has kept all rijs away from that individual. So you find, based upon this analysis, that when you look at this ayat, there is no group that this ayat is possibly about except for those 5 individuals. And those who say that it is about the wives of Rasulullah, I ask them this simple question, that are you going to take what Ikrama, one individual, says, or are you going to take Aisha and Salama and Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari and all of those individuals who are called the Ashab of Rasulullah? All of them have said that this is about 5 individuals. And that's why Rasulullah, time and time again, he showed the status of these 5. You know, the greatest verse where all 5 of them gather within the home is Ayatul Tat-hir. The other ayat where all 5 of these gather is outside of the home. And that is that ayat known as Ayatul Mubahala. You know, on the day of Mubahala, when Rasulullah he comes out, behind Rasulullah is Janab Zahra, behind her is Amir al-Mu'mineen, holding the hand of Imam al-Hasan, and his arm is Imam al-Hussein. You know, Rasulullah, when he gathers all five over there, he says something interesting. And he says, إِذَا دَعَوْتُ فَأَمِّنُوا, that when I make dua, you say Ameen. You know, the question is that the dua of Rasulullah is already accepted. Rasulullah does not need anyone to say Ameen to his dua. You know, in other words, Rasulullah does not need a wasila before Allah. But on the day of Mubahala, he showed the Muslim Ummah that I, Rasulullah, who needs no wasila, if there is a wasila that I use, it is these five individuals. That's why when it comes to these personalities, their love is not like other love. You know, other love is fleeting, it comes and goes. But their love is the misdaq of the ayat of the Quran that says, إِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَا شَدِيدٍ. That, you know, when it comes to mankind, Allah has placed within the fitrah of mankind a love of kamal, of goodness, of perfection. That's why there are individuals who are non-Muslim who recognize that these individuals have greatness. You know, one line of poetry, there was a poet by the name of Bul Salama. And he says in this line of poetry, جَلْجَلَ الْحَقُّ فِي الْمَسِيحِ حَتَّى عُدَّ مِنْ فَرَةِ حُبِّهِ عَلَوِيًّا. He says the truth has come upon this Masihi, this Christian, to the point that now he says that he is Alawi. They say, what do you mean that you say you are Alawi? You are a Christian, you say you are Alawi. He says, أَنَا مَنْ أَعْشِقُ الْفَضْلَ وَالْإِلْحَامَ وَالْخَلْقَ الرَّدِيَّةِ. The reason that I say I am Alawi is I love somebody who is just. And I love somebody who is inspired. And I love somebody whose character is righteous. فَإِذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ عَلِيٌّ نَبِيًّا فَلَقَدْ كَانَ خُلْقُهُ نَبَوِيًّا. If Ali himself was not a prophet, then his kirdar and his actions were like those of the Anbiya. You find this type of love is something because one sees perfection in these individuals. And no matter how much one tries to twist the Quran, Ayat Tat-hir or any other ayat, you find Allah will show the status of these individuals. You know, this action of twisting the verses of the Quran was something which even Yazid did when Ahlulbayt went into the court of Yazid. You know, when Imam Zainul Abidin, he faces Yazid, Yazid recites an ayat of the Quran. And he recites chapter 42, verse 30. And it says, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُم. You know what he says? He looks at Imam Zainul Abidin and he says, there is no musibah that comes upon you except that you have earned it. Imam Zainul Abidin says, this ayat is for the dhalim. It is not for the madloom and the one who is dulim, who is oppressed. The ayat which is about us and the difficulties we are facing is وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ إِلَّا مِنْ قَبْلِ أَن نَّبْرَأَهَا. That there is not a difficulty in yourselves or within the earth except Allah brings it out for you. In other words, there's one type of musibah which is because of your actions, and that is the musibah of a dhalim. But that musibah which we face is that musibah which Allah had already decreed for us. And you find in this manner, Imam Zainul Abidin shows that do not twist the Quran for your own gains. You know, when Imam Zainul Abidin was in Sham, there is even one point when he recited Ayat Tat-hir in Sham. And that was that moment where Imam al-Baqir says, when we entered the bazaar of Sham. You know, when Ahlulbayt entered the bazaar of Sham, Imam al-Baqir, he says that all around people, they would throw rocks upon us, Ahlulbayt. And people would say that they're bughat, that they're rebels. And he would say that when we would go underneath the houses, they would pour boiling water from on top of the houses. And he says at one point they poured boiling water on the turban of my father, Imam Zainul Abidin. And the turban, the amama of Imam Zainul Abidin catches on fire. You know, when they were in that court of Sham, when they were in that marketplace, that bazaar, the first individual who came to Ahlulbayt was an individual who was a companion of Rasulullah by the name of Sal ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi. When Sal ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi comes to Imam Zainul Abidin, he says that I was a companion of your grandfather Rasulullah. Imam Zainul Abidin says, oh Sal, go and bring a piece of cloth. Sal, he says, I didn't understand, why does this man want a piece of cloth? He says, the moment I brought that cloth, he takes that cloth and he places it within that chain upon his neck. And he says, oh Sal, from Karbala to Kufa and Kufa to Sham, the metal has been burning my neck. You know, the second individual who comes in the bazaar is an elderly man. And he says that may Allah curse you. Imam Zainul Abidin says, Ya Shaykh, hal qara'at al-Quran, that have you read the Quran? The man says, yes. The Imam says, have you read the verse, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. The man says, yes. The Imam says, we are that qurba in that family. Then after that, the Imam says, have you read the ayat of the Quran, وَآتِ دَ الْقُرْبَ حَقَّهُ, that give the right towards that family? He says, we are that qurba. Then he recites the verse of khums وَإِنَّمَا غِنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ, that whatever you acquire, 1/5 is for Allah, is the messenger and the qurba. Then after that, Imam Zainul Abidin, he recites, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ رِجْسَ أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ. You know, after he recites this verse, then that moment it came that Ahlulbayt, they entered the court of Sham. You know, how difficult was it for Ahlulbayt to face their killers, to face Yazid? You know, in the life of Rasulullah, there is only one person that Rasulullah turned his face away from. And that individual was Wahshi, the one who killed Hamza on the day of Uhud. But I say, oh Rasulullah, look at your granddaughters in Sham today. That Sayyida Zainab will stand in front of Yazid, and Yazid will have the head of Imam al-Hussein in front of Sayyida Zainab. And at that moment, he'll take an asa and he'll begin to hit the teeth of Abu Abdullah. You know, in this manner, Ahlulbayt, they would be sent to prison in Sham. You know, when they were in prison in Sham, it was a difficult moment. And amongst those difficulties is that the daughter of Imam al-Hussein would cry in that prison. You know, one of those nights, Yazid, he says that, why does this girl cry? They say, oh Yazid, the reason she cries is because she misses her father. So at that moment, Yazid says, then let us send her father. They say, oh Yazid, what do you mean? You've already killed her father. Yazid says, take the head of her father in a bowl and cover that bowl. You know, when that bowl was brought towards Sakina, she removes the covering. She sees the head of her father. And she says, oh Baba, after you, they took my earrings. And after you, we were taken as prisoners. You know, as she's saying this one by one, it's stated at one point, she falls on the ground. And when she falls on the ground, Imam Zainul Abidin says, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You know, there's one riwayah which hurts the heart of an individual. And that is that riwayah where it stated that there was one lady whom Yazid had sent to help Sayyida Zainab. When that lady, she was helping doing the ghusl of Sakina, there is one question she asked Sayyida Zainab, where Sayyida Zainab began to cry and she sits upon the ground. You know what that question was? She says that, did this girl have an illness? Sayyida Zainab says, what do you mean, does she have an illness? That lady, she says that when we look upon her body, there are marks which are blue all over the body of this girl. Sayyida Zainab says, no, this wasn't any illness. But these are those marks. When the army of Umar bin Saad, they would come, they would hit the daughter of Sayyid al-Shuhada. You know, after being within that prison in Sham, you find that a day it comes, Yazid, he frees Ahlulbayt. But Sayyida Zainab, she says, oh Yazid, give us a house to mourn in. These women, they haven't been able to cry. And oh Yazid, return all of those heads and the tabarrukat. You find one by one, the heads of the shuhada would come. That Layla would take the head of Ali Akbar. And Kulthum would take the head of Abbas. And a Rabab would take the head of a 6-month infant. But then that moment it would come when the head of Imam al-Hussein is brought. All of the women would stand. They would say, Wa Husseina, Wa Ghariba. You know, after that, all of those items were brought. The first thing which comes back is a flag and alam. When that alam it comes, you find that they began to say, Wa Abbasa. After that, 2 earrings, they come back. At that moment, perhaps all of them would look to Rabab, because the one who would wear those earrings is buried in that zindan in Sham. But after that, 1 ring it would come back. You know which ring this was? One individual, he says that on the day of Ashura, everyone was eluding the body of Hussein. Somebody would take the shirt of Hussein, somebody would take the amama of Hussein. But what I wanted to take is that I saw there was a ring on the hand of Hussein. So when I went to the body of Aba Abdullah, I tried to pull that ring. The ring wouldn't come off. At that moment I took my dagger, the hand of Hussein. I began to ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا ويا منقلب ينقلبون. Ya Allah, wherever the followers of Ahlulbayt are in difficulty, help them. Wherever they're sick and ailing, cure them. Ya Allah, grant us the ziyarah of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Grant us the shafa'ah of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. And Ya Allah, we pray for the hastening of the reappearance of the 12th of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, Matam Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
जब मुझे आप के कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आप के कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आप के कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आप के कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आप के कातिल ने है سکینہ نے ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے پکارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کر ہے تماچے مارے، مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کر ہے تماچے مارے، میں نے سر سے مانگا جو تمہارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، وہ جو دنیا اپنے تحفے میں مجھے بخشے تھے، وہ جو دنیا اپنے تحفے میں مجھے بخشے تھے، ان کو بہتری سے ظالم نے اتارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، آپ کے سینے پہ آرام سے سونے والی، آپ کے سینے پہ آرام سے سونے والی، سو کے اب خاک پہ کرتی ہے گزارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، نوکے نگاہ پہ اسے دیکھوں تو دیکھوں کیسے، نوکے نگاہ پہ اسے دیکھوں تو دیکھوں کیسے، میرا اصغر تھا مجھے جان بھی پیارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، ساتھ رواروں کے دورایا گیا ہے مجھ کو، ساتھ رواروں کے دورایا گیا ہے مجھ کو، چور زخموں سے بدن میرا ہے سارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں، در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں، در در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں 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 ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں حشر ہے زہرا گیری محسن مرے در جل گیا ہائے در جل گیا وقت ڈھلتا دیکھتی ہے وقت ڈھلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں حشر ہے زہرا گیری محسن مرے در جل گیا ہائے در جل گیا وقت ڈھلتا دیکھتی ہے وقت ڈھلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں 4 گھنٹے میں ضعیفہ ہو گئی زہرا بتول گئی زہرا بتول عرش ہلتا دیکھتی ہے عرش ہلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے سیدہ کی ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے، ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں۔ آج امت کے ستم حد سے سوا ہونے لگے، سوا ہونے لگے، گھر کو لٹتا دیکھتی ہے، گھر کو لٹتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں۔ شام کا بازار آنکھوں میں اتر آیا بطول، اتر آیا بطول، سانس رکتا دیکھتی ہے، سانس رکتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں۔ ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے، ماں کو روتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں۔ ہائے محسن چھوڑ کر بہنوں کو جاتے ہو کہا، کو جاتے ہو کہا، بھائی مرتا دیکھتی ہے، بھائی مرتا دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں در کو جلتا 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 دیکھتی ہے، سیدہ کی بیٹیاں۔ کھڑی الجواں کی لاش پر کہتا رہا رو کر پدر، آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر۔ کڑی الجواں کی لاش پر کہتا رہا رو کر پدر، آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر۔ کڑی الجواں کی لاش پر کہتا رہا رو کر پدر، آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر، ہے آواز تو دے اکبر۔ کہ گرتا ہوا اٹھتا ہوا آ تو گیا ہوں میں مگر غم ہو گیا نور نظر گئے آواز تو دے اکبر اے 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 آواز تو دے تو نوجوان ہے اکبر اور ہے ضعیف بابا تو نوجوان ہے کیسے اٹھاؤں میت مجھ کو تو بتا دے اتنا جانا ہے اب قیام تک کیسے کروں میں یہ سفر غم ہو گئی میری کمر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر اے آواز تو دے اکبر اے آواز تو دے اکبر اے آواز تو دے اکبر تو نوجوان ہے اکبر اور ہے ضعیف بابا کیسے اٹھاؤں میت مجھ کو تو بتا دے اتنا جانا ہے اب قیام تک کیسے کروں میں یہ سفر غم ہو گئی میری کمر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر اے 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 آواز تو دے صغرا کے نامور کو خط کا جواب کیا دوں وہ منتظر ہے اس کو برچی کا حال سنا دوں رستے سے اب نظریں ہٹا مارا گیا بھائی تیرا کیا بھیج دوں اس کو خبر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر اے 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 آواز تو دے اکبر آئی صدا جدھر سے میں اس طرف بڑھوں گا اور آواز سنتے سنتے تجھے رن میں ڈھونڈ ہی لوں گا تو ہے جدھر پیارے میرے تیرے سے یہ کہتے ہوئے بابا ادھر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 ہے آواز تو دے کہ گرتا ہوا اٹھتا ہوا آ تو گیا ہوں میں مگر گم ہو گیا نور نظر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر آواز تو دے اکبر آواز تو دے اکبر آواز تو دے پرچی سے بس کلے جا تیرا نہیں چھدا ہے مقتل میں فاطمہ نے دل اپنا تھام لیا ہے بھائی حسن نانا نبی بابا علی دادی تیری موجود ہیں سبھی ادھر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 جناب اکبر خاموش ہو گئے تھے اور شبیر سر جھکائے لاشے کے پاس کھڑے تھے زینب کبھی لیلا کبھی بہنیں کبھی نامور کہتا رہا یہ سارا گھر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر ہے آواز تو دے محمد وآل محمد
صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك منا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد منكم منا لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ولا أخت الحسين زينب الكبرى وأخي الحسين أبا الفضل العباس ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء السلام عليك يا شمس شموس المدفون بأرض التوس السلطان أبو الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان مهدي جن السلام عليك يا صاحبنا صاحب العصر والزمن عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته
محمد جزاک اللہ بارلہ تجھے واسطہ ہے محمد وآل محمد کا تجھے واسطہ ہے ان برگزیدہ ہستیوں کا جن کے لیے تو نے اس کائنات کو خلق کیا تو ہماری اس قلیل عبادت کو قبول فرما صدقے میں محمد وآل محمد کے حاضرین مجلس اور منتظمین مجلس کی تمام حاجات قبول فرما جہاں جہاں مومن و مومنات آباد ہیں ان کی مال عزت آبرو جان کی حفاظت فرما جو مومن و مومنات بے روزگار ہیں پروردگار ان کو جلد از جلد رزق حلال عطا فرما جو مومن و مومنات باروزگار ہیں ان کے روزگار ہیں وسعت کشادگی ترقی عطا فرما جو مومن و مومنات بیمار ہیں پروردگار ان کو جلد از جلد صحت کلی و کاملہ و عاجلہ نصیب فرما جو مومن و مومنات امریکہ میں آباد ہیں پروردگار اور امیگریشن کے مسائل کا شکار ہیں پروردگار بالخصوص ہمارے صابر شاہ صاحب ان کو جلد از جلد اس میں کامیابی و کامرانی عطا فرما ظہور قائم آل محمد میں تعجیل فرما ہم کو اور ہماری نسلوں کو ان کے انصار اور اعوان میں شمار فرما ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین ایک مرتبہ سورہ الحمد اور 3 مرتبہ سورہ اخلاص کی گزارش ہے جملہ مومن و مومنات کے لیے بالخصوص وہ مومن و مومنات جن کا کوئی فاتحہ پڑھنے والا نہیں ہے اس کے علاوہ تمام مراجع اعظام تمام ذاکرین اہل بیت تمام نوحہ خواہ حضرات تمام مرثیہ خواہ حضرات تمام ماتمی جو کل تک ہم میں موجود تھے آج نہیں ہیں اس کے علاوہ اپنے اپنے عزیز و اقارب کو یاد رکھتے ہوئے بالخصوص آج کی جو نیاز ہے وہ ہمارے بھائی جناب شوکت جعفری اور ان کے اہل خانہ کی جانب سے ہے ان کے ان کے اجداد میں اور ان کے خاندان میں میں کچھ نام لے رہا ہوں مرحومین کے، ان کو یاد رکھتے ہوئے سید آل حیدر جعفری، سید فضل حیدر جعفری، سید امائد علی رضوی، سید سجاد حیدر رضوی، سید علی مجاہد جعفری، تسنیم فاطمہ جعفری اور سید افضل حیدر جعفری، اور اس کے علاوہ جناب ہمارے مولانا بلال رضوی کے اجداد میں جو بھی انتقال فرما چکے ہیں ان کو بھی یاد رکھتے ہوئے، بالخصوص ان کے بھائی ان کو بھی یاد رکھتے ہوئے 1 مرتبہ سورہ الحمد و 3 مرتبہ سورہ اخلاص کی گزارش ہے۔
نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ حیدری،
نعرہ حیدری،
بر دشمنان اہل بیت لعنت،
نعرہ حیدری، دم 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 دم، ہر دم ہر دم، لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین، نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ حیدری، دم 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 دم، ہر دم ہر دم، نبیک یا حسین، نبیک یا حسین، نعرہ حیدری،
علی بر دشمنان اہل بیت لعنت۔